Unspoken Issues.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Unspoken Issues Podcast. Hey, we're about to get into our discussion about Death's Head 2, but to get you ready for that, we've got about a 6-minute intro on the history of Death's Head. So, if you're already familiar, feel free to fast forward 6 minutes to get into the heart of our discussion on Death's Head 2. But if you're like me and you didn't know much about the original Death's Head, stick around and learn something. Let's go.
Welcome to another epic episode of Unspoken Issues, the podcast where we dive deep into the most iconic and sometimes underrated comics of the 90s. Today, we're hyped to talk about one of Marvel UK's most badass characters, Death's Head. Created by the legendary Simon Furman and artist Jeff Sr., Death's Head first burst onto the scene in Transformers UK number 113 back in 1987. Originally, he was just a throwaway character meant to spice up a storyline, but fans loved him so much that he became a fixture in the Marvel UK universe. Death's Head is a robotic bounty hunter, or as he prefers to call himself, a freelance peacekeeping agent. He's got this killer design with a skull-like face and a penchant for adding yes to the end of his sentences. A total anti-hero with a sense of dark humor. Furman and Sr. were heavily influenced by Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, giving him this rough and tumble, no-nonsense attitude that really set him apart. To avoid Hasbro owning the character, Furman and artist Brian Hitch quickly created a one-page comic strip to establish Marvel UK's ownership of Death's Head. After his debut in Transformers, Death's Head made some wild guest appearances, most notably in Doctor Who magazine, where he had a memorable encounter with the Seventh Doctor. This little crossover reduced him in size and set him up to interact with other Marvel characters more easily. Death's Head's popularity led to his own series in 1988. The comic saw him taking on all sorts of contracts, from battling Dragon's Claws to tangling with the Fantastic Four and even Iron Man 2020. Each issue was packed with action, humor, and that gritty edge that made him so unique. But let's not forget one of his biggest transformations in 1992. Marvel UK revamped him into Death's Head 2, a story Jesse, Dean, and Darry are about to discuss. But before we get started there, let's talk about the creative team on this book. Our writer, Dan Abnett, was born on October 12, 1965, and is a prolific English comic book writer and novelist renowned for his work with Marvel Comics, Marvel UK, and 2000 AD. Abnett, often collaborating with Andy Lanning, co-created notable series such as Guardians of the Galaxy, Death's Head 2, and Battletide. He has also significantly contributed to DC Comics, with major works including the 2000 relaunch of Legion of Superheroes. Abnett's work extends into Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 novels for Games Workshop's Black Library, where his novels have sold over 2 million copies. Abnett's impact on the comic industry is vast, with contributions to titles like The Punisher, War Machine, and various X-Men series. He has also written for Doctor Who magazine and collaborated on Planet of the Apes for Dark Horse Comics. In addition to his extensive comic book career, Abnett has penned original novels and screenplays, including the CGI film Ultramarines. His work in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, particularly the Gaunt's Ghosts, Eisenhorn, and Horus Heresy series, has established him as a significant figure in both the comic book and science fiction literary worlds. On pencils is Liam Sharp. Born on May 2, 1968, in Derby, he is a versatile British comic book artist, writer, publisher, and co-founder of Madefire Inc. He began his career in the 1980s with the science fiction magazine 2000 AD, working on iconic series like Judge Dredd and ABC Warriors. He later moved to Marvel UK, where he drew the mini-series Death's Head 2. Sharp has also worked for major U.S. publishers, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and Todd McFarlane's Spawn, with notable works on titles like X-Men, Hulk, Spider-Man, Venom, Superman, and Batman.
In addition to mainstream superhero comics,
Sharp has ventured into mature-themed books for Verotic and co-created the Wildstorm series The Possessed. He founded Tor Publishing with his wife Christina, launching the award-winning anthology Event Horizon. Sharp's artistic achievements extend to illustrating DC's Testament and Gears of War for Wildstorm. In 2008, he signed an exclusive deal with DC and co-founded Madefire in 2011, revolutionizing digital comics. Sharp's influence in the comic industry is celebrated through exhibitions and honors, including a retrospective at Derby Museum, and an honorary doctorate from Derby University in 2022. On inks is the second half of the pair we normally see together, and that is Andy Lanning. An English comic book writer and inker, he is renowned for his extensive work with Marvel Comics and DC Comics. Known for his frequent collaborations with Dan Abnett, Lanning has contributed significantly to the comic book industry. Together, they co-created the character Resurrection Man and relaunched DC's Legion of Superheroes. At Marvel, the duo's noteworthy projects include the Nova series and the Annihilation Conquest storyline, which led to the formation of the new Guardians of the Galaxy. As an inker, Lanning has worked on various high-profile titles, including Death's Head 2, The Punisher, Year 1, and Legion Lost. He also co-created the Sleaze Brothers and contributed to the War of Kings crossover event, expanding Marvel's cosmic universe. His collaboration with Ron Mars on the DC Comics crossover Endless Winter in 2020 highlights his continued influence in the industry. So let's get ready. It's January 1992. You stroll into the comic book store and browse the books on the shelf. Operation Galactic Storm is hitting Captain America in issue 398. Darkhawk 13 shows he's been webbed up by the anti-hero Venom. Punisher Warzone #1 has just hit the shelf. But something catches your eye. A cover with a menacing-looking cyborg, holding a decapitated head, and in the bottom left corner, it proclaims the death of Death's Head. You know you have to pick it up. But maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't dig that UK sitting under the Marvel logo in the top left. Well, Dean, Jesse, and Darry have you covered. Let's get you into their discussion of the 4-issue series, Death's Head 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unspoken Issues Podcast. We have gathered here today to talk about Marvel UK. Something specifically Marvel UK, and that is Death's Head 2. That's right. This came out in 1992. Looks like the cover date is March of 92, I believe. Yep, March of 1992. 4-issue series. And I was just telling Dean earlier, I've seen this on the shelves. I think I own a couple of these issues. I knew about this character. I had no idea about the character that came before. I should say I don't know much about that character.
You don't know about the better Death's Head.
Apparently not. So let's go ahead. And Dean Compton's right there. Darry's up there. We're going to get right into this. Dean, first off, is Death's Head 2. Can you kind of tell us why you chose this book?
I chose it's a very important book for the 90s. I think it's a fun book, but I chose it partly because I liked it and partly because of its importance. Marvel UK maintained a significant presence stateside. Even a little earlier than this book, they started putting comic books out stateside the late 80s with Dragon Claws and Death's Head, G.I. Joe European missions. They did a Knights of Pendragon series that started in the late 80s and ended right as this version of Marvel UK picks up, which there is another volume of Knights of Pendragon, and there's Marvel UK. But Marvel UK exploded really, really big. It's the best thing to come out of jolly old since Monty Python, right? This was it. No, I'm sure there's a bunch of other great things. And any of our friends listening to the UK or Marvel UK fans, I know Mark Ryan, who wrote an article for the site about Marvel UK, we're happy to have you along. This was such a big event. Marvel UK was very, very ubiquitous for a good 3-year period, and then it just cratered, and everybody did. This is around the same time that we start to lose the Kirbyverse and a lot of triumphant comics. The Ultraverse, Malibu gets sold, etc. But it was just really big. You could not turn around in my comic book store without seeing a Marvel UK book, which they had that slightly different coloring, that slightly different feel, a little more sci-fi, a little more fantasy. The character scene was a bit more risque. They weren't code-approved books. And my God, every fucking one of them had the X-Men in them. Every single Marvel UK book had the X-Men in it. Or the Punisher or whatever. It's one of the only times that the Punisher and Cable ever met was in a Marvel UK book. It's hilarious, too, because Cable's like helping Punisher out of somewhere. And Punisher didn't know Cable was there. And Punisher's like, Cable, what's the leader of X-Force doing here? You're like, that sounds like a very natural thing for Frank fucking Castle to say, right? But no, these were important books. It was neat to get these coming over. And Death's Head 2 was hot. Death's Head 2 was promoted as part of the big guns. I have a giant poster that had Nomad, Silver Sable and the Wild Pack, Punisher Warzone, Luke Cage, and Death's Head 2. And that's some broad shoulders to rub up against, right? To be promoted that way. And this book was hot. It took off really big. Death's Head 2 remained hot. The other books, I don't know that anything ever took off. Knights of Pendragon, the first run, was critically acclaimed, but these books were ubiquitous. They were hot. They were an important part of this early 90s market. This is arguably the most important of them. So we cover a lot of things, some things off the beaten path, but this is one of the things that I feel is underrepresented for the size of its importance at the time in the marketplace. So that's why we're doing this thing. It's a lot of fun, really good. Incredible talent. Abnett, writes it. He does not write it. He inks it, but we get Abnett and Lanning after a sword. And of course, the great Liam Sharp doing the pencil. So it's just a rip-roaring good time. Great Fantastic Four appearance. Really fun alternate future. I don't know. It's a great mini series that holds a place of importance. And if we don't cover shit like that here from the 90s, ain't nobody gonna. And what the fuck are we doing? Am I right?
That's right. That's
a long-winded soliloquy. Thanks for letting me go off.
I love it.
I know you do.
Darry, the question I want to ask you, did you see Death's Head 2 on the shelves? And if you did you pick it up?
Yeah. I had this book back in the day. I love the covers. I was a sucker for anything that had an angry, cool-looking robot on it. And then I became a fan of the original Death's Head later on when I realized that he was introduced in the Transformers comics, which I'm slightly obsessed with. So, yeah, huge Death's Head fan. Love Death's Head 2. This is just a solid, good time, and it held up. It's definitely a product of its time, but it's got a lot of that 2000 AD charm, and it was a pleasure to reread.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. Marvel would say no, Death's Head did not originated the Transformers. Marvel would tell you that Death's Head first appeared in Dragon Claws number 6. And that's all a big fucking workaround so that Marvel could own Death's Head. Because he was originally going to appear, but if he appeared in the Transformers, I think the deal with UK was different. It's really weird. Like Circuit Breaker from the Marvel US Transformers belongs to Marvel, but apparently he wouldn't have for whatever reason, so they did this whole workaround. And he also met the Doctor, for the Doctor Who fans out there.
Yeah.
He met the Doctor several times. There's this one, but I always call him the Riddler Doctor. I can't remember his name, but he's got the fucking sweater with all the question marks and the hat.
Sylvester Pemberton.
I was about to say, I think it's Sylvester Pemberton, but I don't want to say for sure. But there's this great comic book where Death's Head is the one to fight him, and he goes to punch him, and motherfucker ducks, but his hat doesn't. So Death's Head swings, puts the hat in him. Classic shit. Just, it's the kind of goofball slapstick shit that you can get away with in British stuff that's also highly serious and really into people's heads getting squashed and stuff. But also, here's this funny thing where he ducked a punch and his hat stayed up. So yeah, Death's Head just a very interesting character all around.
Yeah.
I first found about the original Death's Head, the 1991 Marvel card set. He had a card, and I think Art Adams drew the card.
Oh, and man.
So it's a 6. It's the best card set of all time to me to this day. But it's a 6 set. That's a sick card. And then the next time I'm at the comic book store months later, and I'm like, Death's Head 2, what happened to Death's Head? I just found out about Death's Head. I'm already getting passed by.
Yeah. Can you kind of lay an idea of who Death's Head is, or I guess what he is? Because he isn't a person, right? Or am I getting that wrong? It sounds like he's more
a mechanoid.
Thank you. Okay.
And then his consciousness gets downloaded into the minion Death's Head 2 body. I'm not exactly sure of his exact origin, but you should not. He is a bounty hunter, but you better not call him that. He would tell you he is a freelance peacekeeping agent. Yes. He says yes after he has a very
yes, he does.
Player.
The one sentence pitch is basically so Simon Furman is a famous British comic book writer. He's written most of the Transformers comics that were written by Bob Budiansky. And the guy had a
brilliant dude.
Yeah, no. Great. I had the pleasure of meeting him once. He had a story where he needed a bounty hunter character. So he said, well, I want to use the Clint Eastwood Man with No Name from the Dollars trilogy, but he's got to be a robot or else it's not going to make any sense. So Death's Head was kind of to fill that slot. But he's one of these characters where it was, well, he was meant to be one-off, but he worked really well. And I want to bring him back and I want to tell other stories with him. And yeah, to Dean's point, I don't know, someone at some point realized he was going to be a little bit better than a one-off character. So he did get introduced in another book where Marvel would own him. So a lot of his story stories involve him fighting the Autobots or Decepticons, but he is owned by Marvel. His toys came out from the Marvel Legends line, not the Transformers line. So he's a weird holdover from that period of time, but he's great. He's basically what if Clint Eastwood were a robot and had to fight Optimus Prime and Megatron.
Oh, he's also one of the few guys, the Marvel UK guys, to appear in the Marvel US book. He made appearances during Walt Simonson's Fantastic Four run because Walt Simonson loved the character. And he had to create a character because he couldn't use him, but he made an appearance in the Fantastic Four book. And for whatever reason, the Fantastic Four are the characters that Death's Head messes with the most. I'm not sure why, but they're around in the original book, and then Death's Head does meet the Fantastic Four during Simonson's run. Then there's also Justice Payne, which is basically just Judge Dredd and Death's Head combined, and then later Motor Mouth and Kill Power appear in an issue of Hulk, and that's pretty much it. There's not really a lot of other. Digitech was important during the Civil War of all the guys.
Oh wow!
I will
remember
say,
he dies, right? That's his thing. He dies in prison because they're not taking care of him.
If anyone is ever looking for an actually good Marvel UK story, Paul Cornell and Leonard Kirk did Captain Britain and MI-13, and they make a point of bringing back all the Marvel UK characters from the last ride. The island of Britain, the island of Great Britain is being invaded by invaders. We need every superhero to ever fight under the Union Jack. And there's a great scene where all these characters come back and you get the feeling like this is it. This is the last ride. And Captain Britain leads them into battle. So I will say MI-13 is a flawless book from beginning to end, gone way too soon. But if you're at all interested in the British characters, that's a real quick way to get your fill.
10 years ago, too, they put out a standalone event called Revolutionary War. And it's pretty good, too. And it's very self-contained. It's 6 books. You don't have to read it. If you're interested in these characters, that's a good thing for you to read. If you're really interested in the characters, dive off the fucking deep end. Go buy Black Axe. Go buy Death Metal, buy Death 3, buy Die Cut, buy Dark Guard. There's some weird books out there, and you're going to like them. But these are books that you can kind of give to somebody who's like, oh, isn't superhero stuff just kiddie shit? Well, it can be, or it can kind of be this weird wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is kiddie shit with more gore. Mm-hmm. Here's the Mistech Wars, which is the worst thing Marvel UK ever did. I hate that fucking book.
The one interesting Marvel UK title is Night Raven, which was this book very early on that came out that Alan Moore wrote a couple of issues of, and it's cited as one of the influences as on V for Vendetta, because it was this character from turn of the last century who was very violent, masked vigilante. You don't know a lot about his personal life until more comes on the book. So I always think of a lot of these really good British creators. They cut their teeth at Marvel UK. That's Marvel UK is where Alan Moore wrote his Doctor Who stories. And a lot of other creators. My God, every single thing Alan Davis ever did was perfect. But yeah, I always go back to that Night Raven. I got the collected edition, and it's terrible. I could barely get through it the first time. But you definitely see where it's the best parts of this would feed into V for Vendetta across the street. So it's interesting to see what Marvel UK was allowed to produce. And the guy who started Warrior, Des Skinny, started in Marvel UK too, and then he went off and he revived Miracle Man. So Marvel UK. If it didn't
Paul Neary
make all
takes over after that, another legend, R.I.P., but Paul Neary, really big guy.
Just recently
and Marvel
passed,
UK is where we also find out that Marvel, the mainstream Marvel universe is 616.
Oh, yeah.
That comes from Captain Britain, the Alan Moore, Alan Davis stuff from the 80s. Again, not the Marvel UK we're talking about, but Marvel UK has a great history, and it's really worth looking into. Darry hates it because it's too close to Boston.
Oh, it is. I guess it is technically closer.
Well,
I'm just messing.
No, I like Marvel UK. I've always been a fan. I like when people try things, even if it doesn't always work. I think you definitely got to support something who's trying something. And the Brits have a rich literary tradition. They got a rich science fiction, irreverent tradition. And Stan Lee tried to merge that with what he was doing. And did it work every time? No, but they tried it, and they had a lot of good stuff. They had more hits than misses, so I'll take it. British
writers also at the time. This is 10 years after around close to 10 years after Alan Moore started writing Swamp Thing. So Neil Gaiman and Jamie Delano and Grant Morrison and Peter Milligan and these guys have come in too. So I think that there was this idea, and Marvel UK is a little different because they didn't come in and take over Marvel heroes that weren't great. Although that might have been what they should have done with some of these guys instead of creating super soldiers. Maybe they just had to be like, hey, come to a fucking US Agent series. It might have worked better. I'm not saying it would or it wouldn't have. But there was definitely this idea that British writers at the time could deliver a nuance or a slant on superheroes that would be something different, would be something, Alan Grant as well, we talked about Anarchy, would be something different, would be slightly askew, and it was simply 100% true. Mm-hmm. It was just like, just look at this stuff slightly differently than we do, but it's close enough for us to understand it. And I think that's great. I think that the more we can get exposed to, it's really weird. The more we get exposed to these slight differences in our literary influences and our media culture, the more you realize how vast those slight differences can be. In Marvel UK, you read something like the Infinity Gauntlet, where a bunch of superheroes die and get better, versus the Miztec Wars, where a bunch of superheroes die and get better, and the tone is so fucking different. It's wild. And I think it's great to have something like Marvel UK to do that. It was a great time to have that influence come into superheroes.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I just pulled up the back of the Death's Head card from 1991.
What a great card.
Don't call Death's Head a bounty hunter.
Nope. He is a freelance peacekeeping agent.
Yeah, exactly. Unless that is you're tired of breathing. This peacekeeping cyborg from the far future is all business. He doesn't care who, what, when, or how his next victim is, as long as he is being paid. The only one he ever killed for free was his creator, though he quite often wants to add his bothersome business partner, Sprat, which he shows up here for a few, to that exclusive list. Immensely strong and completely ruthless, this flying mechanoid is a one-being arsenal, but when you meet him, you're either in trouble or you're going to be. All right. So yes, March of 1992, story by Dan Abnett, pencils by Liam Sharp, inks by Andy Lanning, and it looks like Bambos Giorgio, or no, wait, let me try again. Giorgioli. There we go. Bambos, I guarantee you I'm mispronouncing everything there. Giorgioli also helped out on inks on that first issue. Colors by Helen Stone, and I think someone else steps in there for a few as well. Oh, Helen Stone is coloring everything. Okay. And then letters by Perry Godbold, also Caroline Steeden, and I think that's it. Yep, I'm looking at all 4 issue credits just to make sure. So there you go. There's our creative team. And if you guys are ready, what we'll do, I'll just do 2 issues at a time. In the desolate Canopus system on a war-torn world named after its, when I say war-torn, see already, I don't know where it got that from, but named after its ruler, Tyler, the relentless bounty hunter known as Death's Head tears through a cadre of mercenaries to capture his target. But when he finds Tyler, he's already been apprehended by a mysterious cybernetic entity named Minion. Before Death's Head can act, Minion vanishes, transporting back to 2020 and into the sinister halls of the AIM headquarters. So mind you, folks that are listening, this came out in 92, so it's 28 years into the future, 2020.
Another thing, I wonder if that wasn't arbitrary, because there was an established 2020 continuity at this time. Yeah. With Arno Stark was the Iron Man of 2020, and he had come back to fight Tony in the present, and Machine Man was also part of the 2020 thing. So I'm not saying that they did that on purpose, but it's hard for to believe that it was entirely arbitrary as well.
Right. I think
I was waiting for either Aaron Stack or Arno Stark to show up. I figured that's why they were doing 2020, them all being robot characters, but yeah, it never happened.
When we learn Minion serves AIM's enigmatic Dr. Evelyn Necker. Evelyn, that's my mom's name. Tasked with assimilating...
What a joke.
Nice.
You guys might have to explain that one to me. I don't understand. Tasked with assimilating the abilities of... It's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing, isn't it? Tasked with assimilating the abilities of various key figures across time to combat a undefined threat to AIM. And it's upcoming. They have a... What was that movie? Minority Report kind of deal, I guess AIM has, where they kind of know that something's going to happen, a precognition database or something?
I have no idea what happened or why they were trying to prevent it. Because you said in our text where it's like, you have a time machine. The way you are going about trying to protect yourselves seems the device you should be using to prevent this is not, you never once used your best weapon, to quote the man.
Right. So after completing a mission in 2456, Minion returns to 2020 with Death's Head hot on his trail. Their confrontation is fierce, but Minion's objective is clear. Death's Head is his next target. In a brutal clash, Minion absorbs Death's Head's talents, seemingly killing him. Yet something is amiss. Minion struggles with the integration, suggesting Death's Head's consciousness is fighting back. Minion's next and final target is Reed Richards in 1992, and at the end of this issue, he is into transport mode and jumps back in time, where Dr. Necker, by the way, is little concerned because she has been noticing that there have been some problems with their project Minion, so she follows. In New York, 1992, Reed Richards awaits his wife Sue when Dr. Necker arrives, urgently explaining Minion's plans. But Minion's arrival interrupts them, igniting a high-stakes chase through a rain-drenched New York City. With Necker's help, Reed narrowly escapes, but Minion remains relentless. Ben Grimm, the ever-loving blue-eye thing, shows up, hearing the commotion on the news, intervenes, but is quickly overpowered, thrown off a bridge right down onto a ship, taken out of this fight pretty quickly. But it also gives Reed and Necker time to reach for Freedom's Plaza. There, Richards deduces Minion's erratic behavior stems from Death's Head's consciousness fighting for control. Implementing a risky plan, Reed and Necker use a tachyon beam. I love tachyons. They're good in just about everything.
They're very good. Very, very good.
Well, they're the fuck of science, right? They're just incredibly versatile. You can just say whatever. They're just good for anything you need them to do. They just do, just like the word fuck.
Are tachyons real? I don't even know that. Are they real? Is that one of those Star Trek terms, or is there a quark somewhere that actually exists?
I think it's a real thing, but I'm going to double check.
Well, we have a tachyon beam that's going, the intent is to use it to trigger a shift in Minion. And the gambit works. Death's Head emerges, regaining control or retaining control within Minion's body. Absorbing data to complete Minion's mission, he goes over to the computer and says, I don't have to kill you anyway, Reed. I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to download this data and it's going to give me all the answers I need and my mission will be complete anyway. After doing that, he transports away. Necker, fearing the consequences of this rogue entity now, she thinks, oh man, our project has kind of gone rogue. What's going to happen? She follows yet again. Meanwhile,
like any good bureaucrat, she's only really concerned with the outcome of the project.
That's the truth.
She's not really, whatever happens, Jesus, don't ruin this.
Meanwhile, in 2020, Death's Head's loyal partner, Spratt, collects his remains, hatching a resurrection scheme involving the nefarious Baron Strucker the Fifth.
The Fifth.
Oh,
the
my
Fifth.
God. The Fifth. That is where we end issue 2. So, yeah, we got a great time travel adventure here, in my opinion. We got bounty hunting going on. We got robots and cyborgs fighting each other.
The only way it could be better for you is if Impact showed up, right? Cyberpunk out of nowhere. Here comes Ballistic. Boom, boom, boom.
Bring it on.
What if they had sent Minion to get heat waves fucking right? You'd have died. You would have died.
That would have been badass. Cranial, what is it called? Oh my goodness.
Cranial disruption unit.
There you go. Yeah. To describe let's describe Minion real quick, okay? And Death's Head, a mechanoid.
He looks like the devil when people sacrifice shit to the devil on them 70s movies. He looked like that devil been working out.
Okay. All right.
He got the big old horned head and the skull face and 3 Rambo bodies. That's basically him. And then he's got hands that become anything he needs them to, which tachyons, real concept, not a real thing. The idea is apparently this is a thing that always travels faster than light, but it couldn't exist because of paradox. It would create a paradox. So it's a hypothetical thing for science, but there's no known evidence that one exists. So
okay.
So real concept, not a real thing so far.
Okay.
Maybe I have one in the closet. I didn't know about it. I haven't looked in there in a long time.
You knowing you probably do.
If it was a limited edition and I could spend money I didn't have on it, probably.
Just happened upon a slabbed tachyon sitting there, and turn around and sell it on eBay. That's what.
Bro, this tachyon is 9.6. I know. All right, I know it's not a 0.8, but it's still really good. There's not a lot of tachyons. This is the Jim Lee tachyon. All right,
There's got to be a character named Tachyon, right?
Yeah, I forget. Isn't there a new god named Tachyon? Takion?
Oh my God, there is. You're right. You're absolutely right. There is. There's two I can think of. There's the new god, and I can't picture what he looks like. I don't remember if he was a Kirby creation or not.
He's not. He's a 90s new gods guy.
He's a 90s new god, right? And then the only other one I was from a book that George R.R. Martin wrote, had a character named Dr. Tachyon in it.
Is that Wild Cards?
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about him. I ain't read Wild Cards in a bit.
Yeah.
It's so funny when all the people are like, can't believe he's never going to finish these Song of Ice and Fire books. Wild Cards fans laugh in 1992.
Well, to be fair, the books still come out. He was only ever the first among equals. All the other ones were.
Sure, it's just funny to think about it, though. But he never did anymore. That's the thing. He said he was, but he never did.
Well, he's from Bayonne, so he's got enough going on.
He likes the Jets and the Giants. That's illegal.
You can't. They're playing the same stadium, but you can't like them both. That's just weird.
I can understand if you were. I'm a Giants fan, and I don't care if the Jets beat other teams, but I don't cheer for them necessarily. I have Jets fans and friends, so I'll be happy for them. But no, that's not allowed. You can't be like, you can't be. Oh, I like the Cubs and the White Sox. Fuck you.
Dean's Moses with his Proclamation. He comes down the mountain, and he's got rules for all of you. All of you.
Damn right.
These rules are much less hard and fast than it seems. There are exceptions to every one of them.
We got our first two issues here. Dean, I'll throw it to you first here, man. Okay. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts here on our first two issues as we go through this time travel adventure?
Well, first off, I've always wondered this about British comics, but why is the coloring different?
It is different.
There's something very unique about how British comics are colored that we don't do that. I don't know why. And I've asked before and no one can answer it. So that's something I always notice about this stuff. And really good setup. I love the original Death's Head. He has a trench coat on for a little bit and what appears to be a laser shotgun. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Also, let's start, though, with he goes to face Tyler on Tyler's world. It apparently belongs to Tyler. If I had a world, I would name it Butterscotch Rapscallion Supreme or, Badass or some word I just made up, Jackstotropia. But I would not mean it like, I would be like Dean's Planet. What a fucking asshole. What the fuck is that? Here's another proclamation for you coming down. But do you disagree? That's just so short-sighted. He just named his planet. Oh, it's Tyler's planet. Fuck you.
But that's the point, right? People that have that much wealth and everything else, they have no imagination. Of course they want to name the whole planet after themselves. You'd never have a planet. If you had a planet, you come up with a cool name, but that's why you'd never have a planet.
Right. Or at least, even if, our Wi-Fi here is because I'm Dean Compton and Emily's last name is Scott, so it's Scomtonia. It would at least be something like that. It couldn't even be Tylerland or Thailandia or something. You couldn't even do that. You guys got a whole planet. Hire a fucking writer. Pay the writer. Harlan Ellison said, pay the writer. You don't know how to do this. And that's why he got killed. I stand by this. Very easy to find this guy. Right. He's a badass fucking bounty hunter. People are
I thought you meant Harlan Ellison. I don't think Harlan Ellison was killed by anyone. I think he died of natural causes.
There's no telling with that guy.
If you told me that
he had a lot of enemies. He had a lot of enemies. There's no telling. Smart enemies, too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He was on so many enemies lists that if you told me a bounty hunter actually did kill Harlan Ellison in a firefight, I would 100% believe you. I wouldn't even question you.
I believe someone should exhume the body and do another autopsy. I think we have a strong case. Yeah, and they'll be, why should we? I'm like, because Harlan Ellison, and they're just like calling immediately, like backhoes showing up. Oh, yeah, get on the phone. For real, R.I.P. Harlan Ellison, great talent, but hey, the writer, he's right about that. Yeah. And Tyler might have lived longer if he had named his planet Tyler's Planet. Oh, I know where to find this guy. He'll name it. So, Jesus fucking Christ. Also, Was it just Death's Head's plan all along to get downloaded? Because I feel like he should have been more badass than that. He's like,
I don't know what came before.
You what?
I said I don't know what came before. So when I'm reading this, he looks badass. I'll give you that much. He's freeze.
Yeah, but they have him do a pretty strong squash job.
Yeah, I'll agree. He holds his own for a little bit, but man, he's not enough. And this is a situation where I feel the 90s have won out. It's time to replace and upgrade.
But that's too bad because the old one looks cooler.
I think
they both.
That's
look cool.
debatable. I think they both look cool.
Look cool.
I'll agree.
I also like how, like, at the end of issue 1, Necker's like, I gotta fall into the time stream. What's the first thing she does? Gets naked. What the fuck is this? What's going on? She just takes off all of her clothes.
Oh, I thought that was a reference to Terminator. Is that? I guess not. Oh, never mind.
I don't know. I actually thought she was just changing. I was, okay, she's going through time. She's got to change into something different. But you're right. It looks like she's just disrobing. And,
she pretty much just wears what she had on, but just the torso part of it.
Right.
That's what she ends up wearing.
You can't do a story like this without getting Terminator vibes for some reason.
Yeah,
it really, really echoes throughout this whole thing. Time travel.
Because Harlan Ellison created Terminator, he must have also created Death's Head too.
Oh,
that's true.
Well then, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a good. That was a good one. That was a good. Okay. You're right.
I'll go pay the writer. Yeah. So this kind of ties into what y'all were saying about having a time machine, right? So their precognitive unit is like, something's going to happen. What? Something bad. We don't know. We got to get ready for it, though. All right. Well, so you prep, right? You do some things. I'm not a hardcore prepper like on the TV shows, but we have a couple months worth of food and some medical supplies and stuff in case some things happen. No big deal, right? Their prep was to build a big fucking cyborg. The biggest, baddest, most indestructible one you can have. Program it to go all through space and time and absorb the 101 deadliest people ever. Why?
Fucking convoluted.
Why? This is what kind of fucking plan is this? How is this going to solve anything? It's not even like, okay, let's look at what we're doing, see what we can change, see what we can do. Nah, build a fucking cyborg with all the powers of the deadliest individuals from across space and time. And how about that one guy bitching about having to go to Beijing? He was at all. They were having the virtual call. He's people in Beijing. They don't even have virtuals yet. And you're like, bro, if you can just get to Beijing in an hour, it doesn't fucking matter. Where the fuck? Unless you're already in Beijing, it's gonna take a lot more than an hour to get to Beijing. But like back to this thing, how could that be?
I never want to go somewhere again. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I'm with him on this for sure, but it was just funny. He's like, those savages don't even know. I was like, you 2020, bro. You got a lot of stuff. But like, I still can't believe
2020.
That's how I feel now too. I wish I could stay home forever. And never just hear me. I have 2 months worth of snacks. Hear me? But like, yeah, it seems like a weird way to deal with an unquantifiable problem to build a super robot.
The other thing is you don't know what it is. I don't know how many times we could go through this issue and just go, you've got a fucking time machine. Go look.
Okay. So I was going to address this earlier, but I think this is, I don't know. Well, that's not going to address that, actually. I don't know why they couldn't go look. But later on, when you get into what the future Avengers do when they go back and it eradicates timelines, apparently it's easy to change timelines in this with these rules. So, because that's the thing to me, just go back and like, once you get to this point, just go back and change it. Right. Another thing is also something's going to destroy us. When you're a company, how do you know it's not going to be vulture capitalism? How do you know fucking Ron Perlman or James Ackerman isn't going to come in and hostile take over your shit? And then break it apart the way vulture capitalism does stuff. All of a sudden, AIM's outsourcing its super lasers.
Yeah, they had no idea, and it could have
been. It's just something will destroy the company. The guy from Madison Square Garden with the knife could just kill the CEO. He lives a long time. He takes care of himself. He works out with that knife.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah,
Madison Square Garden guy was Target 106.
That's how he gets the sharp arm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, so issue 2 Susan Richards, absolute dish. They draw her to look quite the good-looking, and not even gratuitously good-looking for the 90s. It's a little exaggerated, but it's not. She doesn't look like that Glory pinup I had where she had boobs the size of, like, each boob was the size of 2 basketballs. But really, it shows that Liam Sharp, it really shows his range. He draws everything from 4-armed barbarians bleeding out from between the eyes to a really attractive lady who looks, I said, exaggerated but fairly normal for the world of comic books. So that happens fairly early on. They have cell phones. That's pretty cool. It's a pinnacle of technology. What a fun Fantastic Four appearance. A lot of times when they appear other places, I don't know that people always get them right, but this really got them right. It was a fun fight for Thing. It was fun to see Reed outsmart really everyone and everything at every given point. And also pointing out just how absurd this lady is, because she's like, oh my God, don't hurt this thing. You mean the thing that was coming to kill me? You mean the thing that you said to kill? No, please don't hurt my car. The car you just tried to run me over with? And also, Reed is right. On the island of Manhattan, there is nothing faster than a taxi. Those are the rules. I'm not in charge of them, but
it's true.
Can't go faster.
I was going to ask.
No. That's it. Cool fight scene between Death's Head and Death's Head and the Thing. Yeah, it's just a really fun issue that you would never expect it to go from the end of this issue to the next one. But oh man, just Reed being Reed that I really, which is nice and smart, but also so smart that he's funny. Like, to the point it's like, Reed, how'd you know? Or Ben, how'd you know where we were? Like, dude, like, the city's on fire.
Yeah, this bridge, I'm telling you. What do you?
Like, what do you? Smarting off he does to Necker is really good too.
Right. What do you think of Johnny Storm getting punched the fuck out?
Well, he's my least favorite member of the Fantastic Four. So
flame on, flame off. He lasts about 2 panels before he gets knocked out.
One of the things these writers love for some reason is having Death's Head punk out the Fantastic Four, because there's a what if where this guy like slaughters all of them. It's one of the worst what ifs I've ever seen. Honestly, so unbelievable, even for a what if. Like, Death's Head 2 kills Captain America, War Machine, Namor, the Fantastic Four, and Luke Cage. And you're like, not buying it. Not buying. I can't even buy this in a fucking what if, bro.
Sorry.
I'm sure y'all have had similar experiences with what ifs.
There's some.
A couple times, yeah.
I know you're supposed to suspend your disbelief even further, but there's only, I was like, oh, really? So these guys who once kicked Thanos in the nuts, like this guy, like, oh, he reflected Cap's shield, so it decapitated Namor. Whatever. No. He poked War Machine and killed him through the eye slits. Whatever, dude.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but that used to be a thing. If you read Demon in the Bottle or Armor Wars, Tony is constantly talking about, oh man, thank goodness I got my eye slits up in time. I'm serious. Whenever he goes underwater, they make a point.
Oh, I know. I remember that. Yeah. That's part of why I didn't buy this. I'm like, oh, he didn't have his eye slits down already? Jesus Christ. Anyhow, 2 really great issues, two fun issues. You can tell that Abnett is not only writing without landing, but also he has not been writing a super long time. And in a good way. He's fine. You're watching him find his way. It's watching a director early on in their or going back to listen to some of the early Beatles records. It's, some of this might not be as good as the stuff that comes later, but hearing those steps and seeing that foundation is just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. All right, Darry, what do you think, man? First 2 issues.
These were a hoot. Once I realized time travel was going to be involved, I kind of turned my brain off, because if you know anything about the original Death's Head, which Abnett and Lanning did not create, Simon Furman did, so they're picking up the baton, so to speak. They're all over the place with when stories are set and whatnot. So I was like, all right, I'm just going along for the ride. I love the premise of a giant unkillable robot going around and being, I need to take what is unique about you and add it to myself. I love it when they do it with Amazo. I love it when they do it with Minion, and I'm about it. I was surprised to see the Fantastic Four, because thinking back then, it was, oh man, if someone told you could pick any of the characters from Marvel US, I was expecting to see the X-Men or Spider-Man or someone show up. But they were nice, because people often forget, but their first couple of years when Jack and Stan were on it, it was just one crazy science fiction adventure after another. That definitely would have fit in back then, without a doubt. So,
and also they were already connected to, like I said, they had appeared in Death's Head books, Death's Head's Marvel UK book in the late 80s. So, and also, like I said, I think he appeared in Fantastic Four. So you're picking up these loose strings. That's why it works when Reed's like, I know Death's Head. I'll get him to not kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except I'll do that by apparently I love that Death's Head takes a backup from the computer that is in Four Freedoms Plaza, because apparently that contains all of Reed's memories and brilliance and everything else. And again, I'm not picking on the plot of the story. They were just having a lot of fun here. We'll see that more with the back too. But I do love the idea that if you take that to its natural conclusion, there's a story where Reed just copied his brain, threw it in a computer, and was like, I want to see what happens now because I've got too many projects going on, and maybe I'll make a nanny for the kids or whatever. So I do like that. I doubt we'll ever see it again, but I thought that was very interesting.
Very Kirby.
Very Kirby. Very,
yeah,
very.
He
very
would have called it.
Kirby.
It's my cerebrosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Some shit like that. I quantified the atoms in my brain and program it in here, and now it can tell you how to get into the negative zone.
Yeah. Yeah, he never backed away from a big idea, regardless of how insane it sounded. So,
man, the Terminator parallels, you could draw a few of them here. Death's Head plasma weapon, cranial, whatever. It when he's in that fight with Ben does a big thunderclap right on that thing and destroys it. But then all of a sudden he goes plasma weapon disabled, switching to blade option. And you watch this thing morph very much like a T-1000 into some type of a blade at the end of his hand. Hostile interloper must be terminated. Again, the Minion looks, I get a lot of Predator vibes from Minion 2 for some reason. I don't know why, but I do, just because of the way half his face.
Skulls are a big part of the Predator motif, I think.
When you look at half of his face, because if you have not seen Death's Head 2, folks, half of his face is covered with what looks to be, I assume, either skin or a helmet or something. And then the other half looks like it's just rotting off, and you see the bone underneath.
I was getting a Jonah Hex vibe from that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking, well, if the original Death's Head is based on Clint Eastwood and The Man with No Name, and I always assumed Jonah Hex was based off The Outlaw Joe C. Wales, then you kind of see the evolution here of, well, let's give him that iconic, dripping facial scar thing. And that's what I got from Minion here.
I got that.
Also, this is a world where mysticism's going to be important, Mystech. The big bad guys are, I don't know if you can put that together, but it's kind of a play on mystic, but tech and everything. So this is going to be a world where magic and technology are going to interface at very, very, very infinitesimal levels. So that's why he has like a skull face. It looks kind of demonic as well. He doesn't look like a robot necessarily if you just look at the face. And I think that's an important thing to note too.
Yeah. Darry, I want to throw it to you real quick. What'd you think of the art, man?
I got to be honest with you. I'm not a Liam Sharp fan. I'm sorry. I don't mean to go.
You don't find Liam to be sharp?
He's really British. He's really British. I don't know if he's ever worked for 2000 AD or whatever, but I definitely get that vibe.
Man, with the amount of shit they cranked out, I'm pretty sure all three of us have worked for 2000 AD.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. If you told me I actually wrote a 6-page Future Shock, I'd believe you. I'd say
yeah. I'd be like, You don't remember Judge Dredd, Arkansas? You wrote that.
Well, we did spend that entire episode trying to figure out if Ohio was in Mega City 1 or not. That's at least Prague right there.
Right.
No, I don't know. This art is not bad. He did some work for DC in the last couple of years. He drew a Garth Ennis Batman book and he drew a Grant Morrison Green Lantern book, and I couldn't get into the style. This is a little better though. When he's really trying, the faces on the human characters are very well defined. You can tell that his style has a diverse range. I think Dean said this before. The aliens look truly alien, but the people look truly like themselves. He draws some great looking people too, but overall, I don't know. His name on a book's never done it for me.
Lanning doing the inks, right? Yeah. And my goodness, there are some pages that Lanning just decided to go off. It looks good. It looks good. It definitely looks 90s.
It's really weird to think of him as an inker. I always think of those two together writing, and I don't even think they've written together in at least 10 years now, but they're still entrenched together.
They're together. Yeah.
Like Abnett Lanning, Guardians of the Galaxy, Punisher, Forceworks. Yeah, I love their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was right. Death's Head is in Fantastic Four. I kept getting confused. He was in issue 338. So under Walt Simonson, Justice Payne is a Judge Dredd analog. But I haven't read that in a long time. But I'm going to read it again soon. It's good ass shit. And it has Death's Head in it. So double bonus.
Love Death's Head. I love him so much.
We do.
Sorry, I'm reading the address here on the inside cover where you'd send your stuff. You'd send it to Marvel at blah, 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 New York or whatever. This is 13/15 Arundel Street, London, WC2R, 3DX, England.
Yeah, there you go.
Shit.
I don't know what.
Get your submission in now.
All right, let's get into these next two issues. And folks, let me just tell you, I knew that where we were going to stop in the middle of this had to be at the end of issue 2, because issue 3 and issue 4 are about to fucking take you on a ride.
Issue 4 less so than issue 3, because issue 4 is a wild ride, but it's the Marvel Universe, Future Shock, blah blah blah, yeah. Issue 3 though, what the fucking fuck?
All right, here we go. So, issue 3, we are in the distant future of 3442 AD. And at first
That's another thing. Hold on. Let me say this again about AIM. Y'all mentioned that a time machine. Why don't they go and stop it? Why don't they just go somewhere else?
You can leave.
They don't even have to stop anything. Well, fuck this. I'm going to the super future. 3 realities over. Because Death's Head doesn't just hop futures. He hops realities. You don't even have to stop this fucking thing in the future. Just go somewhere else. Leave town.
There's something to be said about AIM with that classic supervillain trope of they always have to deal with things according to their gimmicks. AIM's whole thing is every single member of AIM, from the guy who cleans the toilets to the scientist supreme, is a mad scientist. So they can't do anything logically, right? They can't just create free energy, patent it, and all retire as billionaires. It's like, no, they have to come up with Doughboy or the absolute worst application exactly for their technology ever. They have to do it. Every single person there is the Riddler. They can't just figure out the answer to the problem. You have to solve the Sphinx's riddle. So I kind of like the idea that AIM, even 30 years into the future from when this was set, was no, we know something bad's going to happen, but we're not going to find out what it is because we want to be ready for everything. So we're going to create a murder death robot with time travel capability to get all of the abilities to prove that whatever this is, and again, we're going to spend no time, resources, or energy trying to pin it down.
None of that.
The robot is ready to stop it. And
I love you remember that. America in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, all the money into the fucking into war? That's us. That's all us. The money into the killer death robot.
Yeah.
You got to give AIM this though. It's like a band. It's like that fucking sucks, but they have one song you just love. Because goddamn, they invented the cosmic cube.
I was just thinking.
You gotta give them this. Somehow they fucking ass backward into the cosmic cube.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? Someone shows up at your doorstep and is like,
make another
exactly. You need to make a wishing machine that never runs out of power. And they're like, I don't know about that. And they're like, oh yeah, Hydra said you couldn't do it. And they're like, we're going to do it. Forget those guys. We're going to do it. And then half an issue later, you have the cosmic cube. You have the most powerful weapon for decades. That was it. That was the Kirby had given us that. The damn thing's still in the movies. It was so iconic. And then
it's still on par with any other MacGuffin.
Oh yeah. And to Dean's point, it's like, why did you guys never do that again? That seemed like a good idea. And next time, again, don't give it to the Nazi with the blood face. Just hold it. Just keep it in the basement. It's okay.
Just be like, hey, I hope that bad thing that might happen doesn't happen. Okay, well now you've done it. You did it. Or like I said, build a big old fucking giant super plane that has cool fucking bars and ping pong and I don't know, big TVs and an N64 and fly it to the year 4618 when everything's peaceful and hang out.
There's probably one guy who works or one person who works in AIM who's constantly saying, like, the kid from the Austin Powers movies who's just like, why don't we just shoot him? Why don't we just shoot him? And everyone else in the room is like, no, what are you talking about? Do you not understand the business we're in? There's probably one person at AIM who's like, why are we building a murder death robot? Why are we doing that? Why? And everyone else is like, you're fired. You don't understand what we're trying to do here at AIM. You don't.
That's why you'll always be in middle management, James.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't think big. Or it's
a lot of it.
There's that meme where 4 people are in the office.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
One of them gets thrown out the window when he says the good ideas. What if we just time traveled away from this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys ever saw it. There was a cartoon called MODOK that was on Hulu.
I've been to watch it for a bit.
Have not.
I loved it. It got canceled. It's never coming back, but I really enjoyed it. And the premise there is what I'm describing. MODOK is smart enough to build anything the story requires, but he's always building the most impractical, nonsensical pieces of garbage you can think of, and everyone else is like, why did you do that? And then he gives some insane, ridiculous reason, but it's always like, no, you could have built something to address the actual concern. Instead, you cloned Tony Stark for some reason. There was no reason to do that. Now there's two of them. Why would you do that? Oh, to prove you could. Okay, great. Well, you're in jail now.
Yeah, I how you built an armor as strong as Iron Man's, right, but with one really big weakness, right. And you put a target on this weakness. Yeah. Why? To prove I'm better than Tony Stark. Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, sorry to cut you off, but I just want to go back to that. This problem really could have been solved lots.
I know.
You don't even have to solve the problem. You can run away from this problem infinitely.
Yeah. But also it's determinism, right? They cause it. Right, by sending him through time and doing everything else, don't they create?
Yeah. Because he kills Death's Head, and then Strucker, who they said he's getting revenge because the original Baron Strucker created AIM and then got pushed out and everything. Or you got pushed out of Hydra first to create an AIM, and then what an ass! So you get pushed out of Hydra and AIM? What the fuck?
Yeah, I was confused by that. I didn't think he had anything to do with AIM, but I don't know. It's been a while since I read those old books.
Believe he did. He was part of the creation of AIM because him and the Red Skull, they created AIM as a part of Hydra, and then it splits off. And I think he regains control of it for a while, and then he doesn't. I don't know. It's Captain America stuff, and Matthew Price is here. You know all about it. And if you want to know all about it, you can buy these comics with Speedy Bullet Comics, sbcomics.com. It's available for you.
Hell yeah.
He'll be happy to talk about Captain America all day. The offer stands. If you want any issue of Supreme and you're willing to pay $2 million, he will find the issue. No problem.
The Supreme Special.
The Supreme Special.
The Supreme Special.
You could possibly pay less. He might find one for less, but if you offer $2 million, you want Supreme number 19.
He's got it. He's got it. At last, the structure. Shit. At last, the Struckers will be revenged. Here we go. We're getting ready to get into part 3.
Part 3, because I held us up. Sorry.
No, you're all right. In the distant future of 3442, which was oddly dashed out for some reason, because I thought, oh boy, we're getting into weird names of years now. But later on, it's 3-4 or 34-4-2, and I'm okay. Add a letter at the end. Anyway, it's 3442. Into the future, on the verdant throne world of Lionheart, Death's Head leads a band of rebels in a Robin Hood struggle against oppressive forces. Yeah, folks, I told you there's going to be a change. Their latest skirmish against the Holy Sisters. Actually, I think these Holy Sisters just kind of were in the wagon that these guys were kind of guarding along with the rest of the treasure or money. Their latest skirmish ends up, they run afoul of the Holy Sisters. It becomes intense. And luckily, an admirer named Tuck, young female named Tuck, joins their cause. She's an admirer of yeah, what do you think of that? Tuck really appreciates what Death's Head is doing. So, yeah, she's like, hey, I'm here to help out. However, the Lord High Protector, alerted to Death's Head's defiance, dispatches his brutal enforcer, Major Oak. A fierce battle ensues when Major Oak confronts...
That's a shitty name, but I love it.
3442. What are you to judge?
It's true.
You're right. I don't understand them. They're so far beyond me. They're so far beyond me as they play weird Robin Hood war games and have lasers, but don't use them.
Fierce battle ensues, confronts Death's Head and his men. Dr. Necker, who has followed Death's Head, but was in the court of the Lord High Protector, she intervenes, saving Death's Head. Tuck, though distrustful, is wary of Necker, but Death's Head agrees to her offer of protection. Well, let's just say her offer of time travel to protect AIM for a hefty sum.
5 million credits.
That's right. Yeah, it was going to be. She said 3. He said 5. She said 3.5. He said 5.
Which is so funny to me because I get that Death's Head is a bounty hunter, so I guess someone is paying him in something, but it's like, what are you going to use 5 million credits for in the year 2020? What are you going to do? Do you want a house? Do you need to eat? I just wanted someone to be like, what are you going to use that for? You now have an indestructible cyborg body that doesn't seem to need anything. What are you going to use $5 million for? I just wanted someone.
He's going to buy a cyber Roth IRA. He's going to let his money make money. Okay? All right?
Oh, my God. Yes, that's the right answer.
Death's Head is getting prepared for a cyber future. And maybe
that's the right answer. That's the right answer.
I know. The only thing I can really think he has to buy is guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I think he has to get tune-ups and stuff sometimes. I believe I've seen that in an issue of Death's Head.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
Death's Head. Yeah, no, Death's Head would need.
The new Death's Head. The new Death's Head. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, Death's Head 2 doesn't need. Yeah. Well, old habits die hard, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I guess it's Death's Head being like, oh yeah, 5 million credits. That would go, buy a lot of Energon.
Why would he? She's like, hey, you need to come do this. She's like, why would I? You fucking killed. If I hadn't downloaded myself into this body, you'd have killed me. Tell me exactly why I'm doing this, Necker. I don't have a mom for you to have looked up to know her name to try and get on my good side.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the original Martha.
Yeah. I love that as we look further into this, the more absurd it gets, because the ending of this, we're going to get to it, is probably some of the most absurd shit I've seen in a while. But as we look into ask these important questions, it is absurd. What the hell is he going to do with money? Regardless, old habits do die hard. So she agrees. Okay, $5 million.
What else he's going to do with the money, guys? He's going to go to Speeding Bullet Comics, sbcomics.com.
He's going to pick up
he's going to get 2 million credits for an issue of Supreme. And then also the Micronauts Omnibus just dropped. We got a lot of the ROM Omnibus is coming up.
Yes.
Absolute Power looks to be scintillating. Death's Head's going to pick up some comic books. The rest into that Cyber Roth IRA.
Wait, which one's Absolute Power?
I don't know. It's Amanda Waller and Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I don't know.
All right.
The Shazam stuff looks interesting. That's mostly what I pay attention to from DC. Although Shazam. Unstoppable Doom Patrol was really good. I hope they do another. If you like the Doom Patrol, you're like it. If you don't like the Doom Patrol, this ain't going to be the thing to convince you to do it.
I love the Doom Patrol. My favorite book from DC right now is The Outsiders because it's just planetary, and I'm just so excited they're back.
Hell yeah.
Nice. All right, so the trio, we've got Tuck, Necker, Death's Head. They all transport themselves back to 2020, right into Ames' lab, only to find it in ruins. Everyone a victim of a brutal attack.
It looks like an alien hive, like the Xenomorphs just killed a bunch of people and hived up.
Yeah. The Necker discovers the attacker, they don't know yet who could have done this, has since also now traveled back to 1992 yet again, intent on erasing her timeline. So that's issue 3. All right. So yeah, Robin Hood, go through that story. And now we're back into, we've got to save our timeline. Who could this person be? Is it Strucker? Let's find out. In 2020, and issue 4, by the way, we get a glimpse of this insane future that's occurring in 2020, where the Punisher is leading a band of heroes, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Spider-Man, against a bunch of demonic drones commanded by an entity called Charnel, who, that turned out to be Baron Strucker the Fifth.
Yeah, he combines his body with the fucking Death's Head's remains. Why? Who the fuck knows? Why do you have to do any of this shit? Why did he just cast a big old spell? I don't know. It seems very powerful. I had to have Death's Head's brains and jaw to do this.
It is the...
But you know what? Fine.
Okay. He is the pinnacle of cybernetic necromancy.
Yeah, that sounds like something that somebody said at this convention I was at, where me and Emily accidentally wound up in the Real Vampires panel. And all of a sudden we were halfway through this panel and all these people keep looking at us. It's actually 10 minutes into it. They keep turning and looking at us and the guy's talking. and some of them were smiling and some were looking at us weird. And that's when I realized that everyone in this room except Emily and I was a vampire. And I'm not even kidding. These were lifestyle vampire people.
They were just waiting to watch your reaction once you figured out where the fuck you were.
Some of them were, who the fuck are these people? But some were like, who the fuck are these people? So, that's what it sounds like, though. It sounds like something one of those people would have said. Some were aghast that there were interlopers, and some were like, oh, new blood, literally and figuratively. Hey, that Q&A started. I told Emily, I mean, it's like, Emily, everybody in here but us is a vampire. She's like, what are we going to do? I said, when they go to Q&A, we're going to get out. We did, and that's how I saved Emily's life.
Good job. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Very nice.
Good job. Don't take her into the
But
wrong
anyhow,
room.
Charnel was probably the speaker at that. I didn't pay a lot of attention.
Yeah, Charnel showed
Once
up.
I figured out that everyone in there was a vampire but me and Emily, I was like, well, I just got to think about getting out of here.
Baron von Strucker the Fifth.
The fifth.
The Fifth. In a sacrificial battle, they secure a time travel device only for the Avengers. Wolverine, I guess they're all Avengers now. Wolverine, Captain America.
I don't know, because at one point Captain America's like, Avengers, Logan, let's go. You're like, oh, come on, Cap. Even now he can't be an Avenger. What the fuck?
Yeah,
But
Rhino ends up picking up this device that they were able to somewhat secure, so they were kind of back up, I assume. But anyway, they grab this device. Rhino picks it up, heads back to a headquarters, and essentially says, okay, guys, here we go. And it's the rest of the Avengers, which is Wolverine, Captain America, Scarlet Witch, and She-Hulk, and counting Rhino. So you got 5 team members there. And can't forget Reed, who is a gelatinous blob. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that dude on fucking Power Rangers, right? Yeah. When they were like talking to the guy in the big tube.
Right.
What was his name? Zod or something? Zed?
Zordon.
Yeah, something. Yeah. But that's what he looked. Oh, I'm looking here.
So yeah.
Motherfucker. Smartest piece of Play-Doh in the universe.
They use this time travel device to head back to 1992. A Nexus, apparently. So.
Right. Coincidentally, the year this was being published.
Oh, wow. Wow. It's crazy. Death's Head Tech.
How lucky for this creative team.
Death's Head, Tuck, and Necker land in a shopping mall, immediately ambushed by the future Avengers. Actually, more Wolverine than anybody. And Cap's, wait, guys. Hold on. These aren't the ones we want to attack here. After a
not in time to prevent Wolverine from eviscerating him.
Yeah, essentially driving his claws into him. And then, in a crazy event, breaks off one of his claws in Death's Head. That's insane. It's insane. After a tense standoff, they agree to unite against a younger Charnel. So you got to think here. They are... Actually, don't think. Turn your mind off just like Darry.
Off. Just completely off.
The ensuing battle is devastating. Charnel quickly kills Scarlet Witch, apparently, and definitely She-Hulk. Death's Head and Wolverine team up, fighting vigilantly, but Charnel proves formidable and kills Captain America, Rhino, and Wolverine. With the time travel device in hand, Death's Head finds a still alive Scarlet Witch now, let me back up just a little bit.
Scarlet Witch tried to put the old hex whammy on the dude, and he absorbed power. Then he used that absorbed power to put the whammy on Rhino, Wolverine, and Captain America.
Yeah, and Darry had mentioned how they are the ones that kind of caused Charnel to happen. And
I think I wasn't 100%. I got to be honest, things get kind of muddled, but
it appears that way.
Yeah, as soon as Charnel starts absorbing Scarlet Witch's hex power, at that point he's like,
cast the hex, a fighting chance or a puncher's chance, but then that enables him to go 100% pure lifestyle vampire and become the pinnacle of necromancy and cybernetics, necro-cybers, the old NCs, and then he puts the old whammy on him and talks a big game.
Yes, he does. The way that this battle ended, this might be why I was late tonight, because I had to read the end of this battle twice. My understanding is this is how it went down. So Death's Head has the time travel device in his hand that I assume the Avengers came back with. All right, so that's one. And Charnel, who apparently had come back to the past as well, has one himself. So Death's Head reasons that, okay, if I put these two things together, then what I want to happen is Scarlet Witch hit him with one more hex bolt.
Yeah.
When that happens, it then rips Baron von Structure. Fuck me. Baron von
Structure rules, man. The most fucking evil Nazi building of all time. It's right. It's actually the sequel to Castle Wolfenstein. So.
Oh my gosh, man. Fucking shit.
You thought that was hard? Yeah. Baron von Structure? Fuck you. There's more Nazis to kill, and you can kill them all.
Wolfenstein 5. Baron von Structure. Okay. So anyway, so. There's some type of splitting happens. It looks like the Baron gets separated from Charnel, and the explanation I think Death's Head gives is that he is basically split them into two different timelines, or split them into
each of the time travel devices to two different things and two different times.
Just rips them apart.
Prehistory and one way far in the future, which ripped them apart and theoretically killed them.
Yeah.
And I guess he needed Wanda to make that work. Maybe they couldn't both work without it. I don't know what the Hex Bolt was for, but
do we think it was the same time travel device from two different periods in its own existence?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's I was gonna say she might have needed it to make some tachyon stuff go.
Oh yeah, no, she can make tachyons. That's been well established.
They didn't have enough space on the page to explain that, but I will fucking buy it.
Like, the thing is, they don't need the Hex Bolt. He could just put it on and set them and go. I'm buy that.
Now, listen, it's very obvious the writer started each issue being like, what do I want to write about? Is it Robin Hood? Is it the Twilight Avengers? Is it the Fantastic Four? But that's fun. I'm okay with that because it's like you should have fun with this. Not every 4-issue miniseries needs to be War and Peace.
Right. All right. So, hey, the threat's been finally destroyed, and we also watched Scarlet Witch disappear because her timeline has been erased from existence. And these Necker's now satisfied the fact that her timeline is safe. Well, she needs Death's Head to come back with her in 2020, right? No way. Not happening. Not on Death's Head's watch. Nope. What they've got to do, talks Tuck into hijacking a semi and heading into Manhattan.
Heck yeah.
I don't know how much more American you're going to get than fucking
one of those
Pork
really
Chop
fun
Express.
places to drive a semi.
I don't even know how you would get a semi into Manhattan. You would. That sounds like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I don't know, but every time I've driven in Manhattan, I've been stuck behind one, so they get them there.
They get them there, but they're just. You're not going anywhere. It's going to be, where is Death's Head? Oh, he's in that semi truck that's been on 14th Street for 6 hours.
Very short chase.
Yeah,
very short chase because folks. By the way, Death's Head ends up getting into the semi. Tuck follows. It's off. It's off to so many adventures across the United States, starting with driving a truck into Manhattan. But also, shortly after that, the Avengers show up. The Fantastic Four shows up. Who else did you see there? Hulk shows up.
On the very last page, you see him jumping. And one of the crafts of the very last panel could be the Blackbird. It might not be the Blackbird. Can't really tell. One of them is a Quinjet. One of them is the Fantastic Car.
They have got the attention of some of these heroes. They're there was a temporal device and blah blah blah. After that semi, and with all full force, these teams are chasing this semi, and that's how we roll this 4th issue out.
Pretty much.
What a fucking insane ride!
The last that'll lead us to the Death's Head Maximum Overdrive crossover.
Count me in.
I would read that.
Why not? We pick up. He's stuck in traffic.
I maintain that Maximum Overdrive is the very first MCU movie. I really do. I love that film.
The Green Goblin.
Because the Green Goblin, man. The Ditko Romita accurate Green Goblin is right on the head of that truck, man.
That's
powered by pure cocaine. It's just, it's a thing of beauty.
I'll go ahead and start here, just throw out my few notes. And we've really talked a lot about some of the crazy stuff that happens in these 2 issues. Yeah, it was definitely jarring to all of a sudden be in the future and we got Robin Hood going on. And I was right there going, okay, what? Okay. And I was trying to explain why, in my head, Death's Head all of a sudden decided to take on a Robin Hood persona. I couldn't figure it out. The only thing that kind of explains it is when he starts sitting down and talking to Tuck, which we get exposition in that third issue about everything that happened before and why Death's Head is doing where he's at. But it seemed like he was just kind of taking up for the poor killjoys around here. They're sticking up for the oppressed. Yeah. And I was okay. All right. Well, I guess that's Robin Hood there. And I was also thinking to myself, like, when he got the tachyon whammy from Reed Richards, something fucked up in his head. And all of a sudden now he's thinking he's literary heroes. I thought maybe we were going that route. That did not happen.
He said that he just wanted to fuck around. He's like, this seemed like as good a place as any, which is not a great excuse, but he did say something. So,
okay. Yeah,
he wanted to go far away, and this seemed pretty far away in the future on a world that has tech but doesn't use it, which is a pretty interesting concept, to be honest.
Well, it's Dune, right? It's all robots and artificial life are outlawed because there was a revolt or some nonsense because Herbert didn't want to have to worry about explaining where all the robots were. So I liked it. I like any story that opens with, hey, you're prejudiced for things that you have absolutely no control over. Join the rebellion. I'm down with that. I got
sure
6 long boxes full of X-Men comics for that same reason.
All right. So yeah, that was what a jarring issue number 3. It is cool that we're bringing somebody along. We got Tuck here that's going to be joining in on the adventure.
And 2 ongoing too.
I kind of figured we need somebody to kind of bounce some of this craziness off of and watch them deal with what Death's Head is doing.
And what if she had a crossbow?
Futuristic crossbow.
Oh my God.
Well, and then issue 4 is great. I love alternate futures. I love looks into what could possibly be. I was excited. They did the Punisher good here, I think, in my opinion.
Really actually a great treatment of Frank.
Yeah, I'll let Dean talk about more of that if he wants to, but I really didn't. I do enjoy these. Okay, hey, here's what our heroes are doing. I don't want all Death's Head all the time in the future. Show me what else. Make this world lived in, or something that I'm
Where's
more.
Sleepwalker?
Where is he? I was yelling at the whole damn issue. I was still yelling, and that's why it took me so long to get on here tonight.
What's the gargoyle doing?
But yeah, I love that look at the future. I love to see what our heroes are doing, and I love that it's the last battle, and these guys got to do these things, and it's the street level guys too, by the way, except for Doctor Strange. But we got Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Punisher, and then Doctor Strange, who is going to be your magic heavy here.
Speaking of magic heavy, the way Frank cradles Maddie in their last moments makes so much fan fiction valid. It was a beautiful thing. Frank has. Since Maria passed, Frank has never loved someone the way he loves Matthew Murdock. It's a beautiful thing to see. It really is. I want to go to that wedding. I really do. Matt would wear white. You absolutely know he would wear white.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Why are you the way you are?
It's a fair question.
Okay, and the other thing,
it was really cool to see them. Honestly, the slash fiction dream come true aside, which that is someone's slash fiction dream come true. Really cool to see that there was this future that bond. What would it take for Frank to get over this death? A bunch more people to die, and to be put in a place where he could bond with people again. What would it take? A war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do like the idea that if something awful were to happen, and you've seen this sometimes in Marvel events, the Punisher is, oh, okay, cool. So you're finally ready to play by my rules, where it's the stakes are way higher than when you guys are fighting Stiltman. So I do that. I don't just mean that Daredevil and Punisher, they have to be together in a romantic way. I actually do think they have a very close relationship, however you want to define it.
They're frenemies for sure at their best.
Yeah. And
with the devil in cell block, D or whatever?
The devil in cell block D, yeah.
That's a great story where Punisher's like, you're not going to kill anybody. Don't be silly.
Yeah, they
I'll never forget the instance where he's just sitting there reading the magazines when Daredevil shows up. Daredevil's like, I brought you something, Frank. He's like, it took you long enough.
Yeah.
And all these criminals are dead around, Frank. Just read the magazine.
Yeah, there's a scene Ed Brubaker wrote that where they go and they show the warden And the warden's like, well, at least we don't have to worry about the Punisher. And they're like, what are you talking about? There's dead people all over. And it's like, yeah, but they came to his cell. And it's just there's a panel of him reading a book in his cell, and there's just bodies everywhere. But it's only people who are trying to go in and get revenge. The Punisher's like, no, Matt's playing his thing out. He's probably going to kill Kingpin. That's fine. I'm good. But you get random people who are like, I'm going to kill the Punisher. And then it's just a body is just flying over the handrails. It's great. It's a great comic. Everyone should go read that.
Oh man. And the other thing that I appreciate is them just, now this feels random to me, but you guys help me out because I rely on you guys for a little bit of history. Rhino and She-Hulk. Has that been something that's ever been even hinted at before?
No, I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
There's a lot of She-Hulk since the turn of the century I haven't read. Although, oddly enough, it's one of those things that I've also liked every bit of She-Hulk I've read since the turn of the century. So I should really read more of it. But it could have been, but I don't really think so.
I was kind of vague and kind of leading you guys into that question to let our listeners know in this book. I don't think I mentioned it here, but Rhino and She-Hulk are in a relationship, and when She-Hulk dies, Rhino's obviously, they've been together since 20 years. So it was they had started dating or becoming a thing in 2000, but they were in love for sure. So it was cool. She-Hulk looks different, which is, I appreciate the look that She-Hulk has in this. It doesn't bother me anyway.
It's wartime She-Hulk.
Yeah, baby.
Wartime She-Hulk.
Yeah. Wartime Rhino looks fucking badass too.
Yeah. No, they all look a little different. They're all, they should. They've been war a long time, and they've lost a lot of friends. They mentioned that Thor's group got eradicated, so I don't know who was in Thor's group. Obviously, Sleepwalker, Speedball, Tigra.
Oh man,
you can pick who else was in Thor's group. Darry, your turn. Who was in Thor's group?
Oh my goodness. Oh, what did you say? You said Tigra? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Nighthawk. Without a doubt, Nighthawk was with them. He has no powers. He was the first one to go down, but Thor's, no, I'll take everybody I can throw.
Take everybody. What do you got, Jesse? Who you got in Thor's group? Oh my gosh.
So it's got to be, let's see here.
It could be anybody. Who cares?
Anyone you want, Starter. Anyone.
Except for the ones we saw here. Obviously, they weren't in Thor's group.
Well, do you think Canada's still around at this time? Or have they fallen?
Everything's fallen.
Let's just do Puck. All right, we'll throw Puck out.
Oh yeah, I like it.
All right. Anyway,
you know what? Let's give somebody else the Thor's group that can do something. Wonder Man, you can be there too. All right, just throwing Puck at this guy.
Okay, so and my final comment, and then I'll turn it over to you, Darry. The ending of this book, the ending of these 4 issues with just the fucking semi-truck traveling fucking Smokey and the Bandit. I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
That would have been amazing if it had been, if this ended with them being like, all right, we did Robin Hood. Now we're going to do Smokey and the Bandit. And one of them was just in a Camaro going in and out, and Captain America was playing the sheriff. That would have been amazing.
I mean, this is a semi, so I guess it's got to be Convoy.
Convoy. Yeah.
Even better.
That's the other one I was sitting there thinking of, Convoy. Oh, man. All right, Darry, I'm done. Tell us about what you thought of these back half here.
It's so wild. Every time you think you get the best thing I can say about Death's Head in any incarnation is as soon as you feel you have a handle on where the story's going, it makes a 90-degree turn, right? That's its defining characteristic. It's very much never what you expect. I was wildly confused by the Robin Hood story because it seemed to be a pitch. It seemed to be a backdoor pilot for something else. If you told me that there was then a Marvel UK book called The Adventures of the Lion-Hearted World or something where mechanoid people actually had to fight a Luddite King John or whatever, I definitely would have believed you. But I also
they had enough books. You could say almost anything was a Marvel UK book. You could be, did you ever see Axe Play? No, it was a good one. That was a good one. You can just say, I'm not even really knocking it, but you can say anything was a Marvel UK book. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. But again, it's not a bad thing. It's very creative. A lot of things happen, but the plot's consistent, right? And so you introduce this threat, you introduce this idea. It eventually comes up. It's Baron Strucker. thing. It's even got a personal connection to AIM. This thing is set firmly in the Marvel Universe. It plays with all the toys that it wants to. It plays fair with the reader. And Death's Head's a great character. And he's so 90s. I love his upgraded look. I actually like the look for Death's Head 2 better than the original Death's Head. I never really understood the joke where she's like, that was my mother's name. I guess
I think what it was she knew the history of these people, so she was just like doing that to try and said it's the original Martha. Why did you say that?
Oh, yeah.
I think she was trying to get over it. She just had to keep adding on it because Death's Head had heard it all. She didn't want, and Death's Head's got to be like, you did not say that was your mother's name to Reed Richards, yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I thought that's what was going on. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Or maybe there's a British joke about that was my mother's name that I don't know.
Yeah, there's a Fawlty Towers sketch that no one's ever seen.
About Great Britain.
Yeah, right.
He's a big old Great Britain head.
Oh, man.
Anglophile is the term.
Anglophile, yeah, Anglophile. Oh, I like seeing the black costume back on Spider-Man. That was nice. Yes. I do the idea again. Like I like the idea that once things get really, really bad, he's like, nah, I got to put on the black costume. I got to be a little tougher with everyone.
I'm emo now.
I'm emo. Yeah. I'm back to mourning literally everyone who died. But no, I enjoyed this book. I read it. I definitely enjoyed it now more than when I read it back in the day. I probably didn't get most of the jokes when I read it as a kid, but I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good example of Marvel UK. Dean said this is the one you've probably read, and it's a great example. It's got all the irreverence of the best British strips, but it's firmly in the Marvel Universe. And the writer does such a good job at balancing the two that I really agree with that. It's like, oh, hey, I want to read a Marvel UK book. Well, check out Death's Head 2. That's probably the best one.
And if you don't like this one, you're probably not going to like any of the others because some of them get more off the beaten path and are a little more British, for lack of a better term. And that's not bad. That's what they wanted. I think you said the irreverence is there. I can't remember who said it, but one of the British writers was, our heroes have, their feet are more clay than Americans' heroes.
Yeah.
And I think they're willing to fuck around and have fun and play games and mess with tropes in a way that we don't do as much, and certainly the market didn't do as much then.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can show all the American superheroes, and they're doing what they do. They take themselves seriously. They're trying to save the day. They're trying to save as many people as possible. And what does Dr. Necker do when she shows up at the French restaurant? She just starts shooting everyone. And Rita's, there are civilians everywhere. And she says, oh, I'm shooting the bad ones. Don't worry about it. And again, I feel that's a great scene because it's neither one of them are bad people, but they just have very different ways of looking at the same situation. So it's good. It's a deftly written series. It's a nice gem of the time.
I think it's that tying into that is one of the things she says to Richard. Richard's like, yeah, this guy was going to come kill me. She's like, in the future, you're dead anyway. Yeah, so she probably was thinking that about those people in the restaurant. Most of these people are fucking dead anyway.
Yeah. It's an interesting way of looking at time travel where it's, well, none of you matter anyway, because from my perspective, you've been dead for years.
Right. So it's and if time travel ever were to exist, that's probably something that people would have to. There might have to be special time travel therapy how you deal with that, to talk about that. Like,
oh, yeah.
People already have problems with watching a movie from 1985 and there's a cat on it. And they're like, oh, shit, that cat's dead.
Yeah. This crossed my mind plenty of times.
They do. So can you imagine if it's everyone?
Right, dude. All right, Darry.
And morally, what does that mean to mix with people like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it, Darry? You're good?
Oh, yeah. No. I enjoyed it, but that's everything. That's everything I got. Death's Head's always a good time.
All right, Dean, you're up, buddy. Let him have it.
We talked about most of what I was going to say already, but I was surprised that there were this many shit-ass ponytails at the end of the world. Punisher's got one. Spider-Man's got one. Doctor Strange looking like fucking the Shaggy Man from the DC universe.
Was there a bald person anywhere?
No, they're the first to go.
Right. It's like, you're weak. The way you denoted you were strong is you got that ponytail. And Spider-Man had to cut a hole out of his mask for his. He was so dedicated to that look. I'm going to make this happen. So
he's so extra. There's one thing you could say about Peter Parker is that he's extra, man.
Well, he was really good. You said it was cool to see all these heroes. It's neat that this probably wasn't thought of, but Spider-Man and Doctor Strange associated so heavily with Steve Ditko and the early Marvel Universe. And while Daredevil was kind of there, Daredevil really hits his stride in the 80s when the Punisher does. So it was almost like two generations were fighting another generation, which that may or may not have been intentional. I can't say, but it stood out to me. I thought that was neat, even one way or another. Yeah, Punisher's treated great. I really, really like the part where like the guy's like, oh man, give me the time travel device and and I'll kill you painlessly. And he throws it away. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah,
you're gonna die anyway. And then he pulls out a knife and he's like, you were saying something about pain.
Yes.
So obviously we know Charnel killed Frank Castle, the Punisher, but y'all know in your heart of hearts that Frank hurt him before he died, which theoretically should not have been possible because he was just a human. But I know he did it, and y'all know he did it, and I won't hear anything else.
I love it. I love it.
Really great to see that. You said we talked about earlier, the friend making it the end of the world. All in all, just a great final issue. Cool to see all of the guys chase Death's Head 2 and talk at the end. Like you said, that feels a very Looney Tunes ending in a good way, but British guys can pull that Looney Tunes ending off in a way that sometimes American writers can't. But all of it felt very, very was the Marvel Universe just turned slightly sideways, which made for a very, very fun read. I probably read this around once every 2 or 3 years. I'll read it again in the future. It's quick and it's fun and it's highly recommended. And it was just such a big it was such a big deal at the time. It would show up in the the Entertainment This Month and American Entertainment. They'd be hot. It would be one of those books. And it's funny to think when you look back to the Marvel UK book commanded that much attention. So just a lot of fun. I said most of what I said when Darry was talking because I'm rude, but really good stuff.
Yeah, this was fun. This is a comic book that I've never read. And I don't know, do you guys have the same problem I do? You have comics sitting somewhere you never read, or have you read everything that you bought?
No, I haven't read everything that I bought.
Okay.
No, I have.
All right, so
I have literally hundreds of trade paperbacks I haven't read.
I'm so fucking right there with you, dude. I go to Ollie's, I'll get 6 fucking paperbacks, and I'm like, they're going on the shelf. I'll look at the spine.
If I buy something, I read it before I even file it away. That's why I'm very selective. Like, you guys are always like, you really like this. I'm not going to buy it if I know I'm not going to have time to read it. So.
That's fair. I understand. I'm trying to build this trade paperback library, so I'm getting stuff, and they're really printing a lot of stuff. So I do work on it, but I work on projects. Right now I'm reading the Power Man and Iron Fist as seen to the Epic Collection. So I've read the first 2 Luke Cage Epic Collections, and now I'm into Iron Fist, and then I'll read the Power Man and Iron Fist ones.
I got to get that Micronauts collection before it's gone. I got to get that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I've got that's another thing. I don't know when I'll get around to reading it, but I don't want to miss out on it.
I know. I know.
And Godzilla's coming too, and I don't think that these are things that with the license is gone, they're go out of print. There'll be a lot of money, and I'd rather have them and have them to read later.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get those Marvel DC crossover books just because you ain't getting them again.
You don't want to take the chance. That's the thing. It's like if he fucking for the rest, whatever, next 100 years they can publish it, but you don't know. Yeah. And if you miss out because you missed out earlier, you're gonna fucking kick your ass. Yeah. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, the only good news that might come of it is that with these new printings, maybe trade paperbacks were done in the 90s. Maybe they'd go down some because they're expensive as is. The problem is the old trade paperbacks are going to have stories in them that aren't going to be in the new ones. So they're going to remain desirable in a different way.
Well,
because they're not reprinting the Gerard Jones stuff.
No, they're not.
Nope. All right, guys, we did it. This was Death's Head 2, 4-issue series. We almost did it.
We'll have to go to 2020 to finish it. The far future of 2020.
The far future. Yeah, I can't help but when I'm reading a book this, I'm looking at the shit that they thought was going to happen. That's the charm of this stuff, is just kind of looking to see what
that guy complaining about Zoom. That felt pretty
right on point.
Maybe it was actually COVID that decimated AIM. It wasn't Charnel, and he got there. And he said, "Oh, this is already done." Well, I'll just say I did.
He just left. He said, "Well,
good. I was going to do this anyway."
Oh man!
Get a mask on.
Well, Dean, why don't you tell them about the Unspoken Decade?
Celebrating 10 years, the Unspoken Decade this year. Having a lot of fun. We thank every one of you. And at the unspokendecade.com, a lot of great articles, a few podcasts. And we're having a lot of fun every day. I'm pretty active over there. I've been making reels. I'm finding articles to post. It's really interesting how it changes what I want to do. There's always going to be comic book covers, but really gotten into finding some cool articles and posting them lately from stuff like Hero or Wizard or even Indie Magazine or Comic Scene. So come see us, check it out. I'll be happy to talk with you. Don't be a dick.
Please.
And that's about it. That's about it. That's it.
Love it. All right. Well, for myself, hey, ladies and gentlemen, check out, you're right here listening to this podcast. Most likely it's part of the Source Material Comics feed, which is, of course, part of the w2mnet.com series of podcasts that are out there. We appreciate you. Unspoken Issues focuses straight on 90s comics. Got a lot of stuff in the archive. Go check that out. Over 100 episodes. Source Material Comics podcast. Right now, we're in the middle, as we're recording. Me and Mark are in the middle of Lois Lane, Enemy of the People. And we're having a good time reading that. Yeah, there's 12 issues.
Did she turn herself black again?
Did not happen.
Okay.
Did not happen.
If you told me that Greg Rucka wrote a Lois Lane story where she did do that, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like he's the type of person who would try to reclaim that.
Damn.
I hate that missed opportunity where it's you had a good idea and the execution is just boring. The ultimate sin, just making it boring.
So anyway, you can check me and Mark talking all 12 issues. We've broken up into 3 separate podcasts, 4 issues apiece. We got, I don't know how the multiverse factors into it, but it does. It happens. And we also...
multiverse. You got to flip it over.
It happens. And then,
there's
of course,
a time travel machine to go to 2020. Aim's dead.
It's crazy. But yeah, other than that, the other podcast right here on this feed is the Snap Material Podcast, where me and Evan Bevins get together and we talk Marvel Snap. And I just started streaming. I just said, fuck it. I'm streaming Marvel Snap games. I'm down there in the corner. You can hear me bitching about the other guy I'm playing. And then at one point recently, I played Evan, and Evan was on the other side of the screen, and we were bitching at each other. It was a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, go to the Source Material YouTube, and you can watch some of those past games. If you want to learn how to play Marvel Snap, well, don't watch any of my shows. You can be entertained at how bad I am. That's pretty much what it boils down to. But with that being said, we are getting out of here. That is Dean Compton. Over there is Darry Wade. I'm Jesse Starcher. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Unspoken Issues is part of the UnspokenDecade.com, the home for 90s comics, blogs, and podcasts. Unspoken Issues also has a Facebook group you can join if you are interested. Just search the Unspoken Issues podcast and request to join. All of this would not be possible without w2mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.